really intimidating.
What, somebody whistling
awkward.
because they think you're attractive and lovely?
Yeah, but girls don't behave like that. Girls don't do it.
Alicia has done an incredible job. She really has turned out to be one of the great Miss Universes, I will say. And she had a little problem during the middle where she gained a little weight.
I don't think so.
Have some respect. Like, have some respect. You know?
Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing? Somebody's acknowledging you.
Hands required whistle means you can remain anonymous when doing it. No one's going to catch you hurriedly taking your hands.
Gender-based street harassment is unwanted comments, gestures and actions forced on a stranger in a public place without their consent. Stop Street Harassment conducted a survey and found that 65% of all women had experienced street harassment. Among all women, 23% had been sexually touched, 20% had been followed, and 9% had been forced to do something sexual. This is an extremely relevant issue and is very much being discussed in the media, so now is time to get to the bottom of this.
I find that I get catcalled a lot when I'm wearing certain garments, such as tight stuff, because for some reason men think that I'm wearing it for them, but I'm not. I'm wearing it for me.
On the street, like in daylight, I think it's worse because then you're kind of like not expecting it at all, and you're just kind of like going about your daily business, and then if it happens, you're a bit like, oh, that's weird.
If I was on my own, I'd feel a lot more intimidated by it. And yeah, I'd feel a lot more nervous.
I just walk past, usually. I don't really give them any attention or anything like that because I think let's not like give in to like the harassment.
Because if you react, then that's what they want. Then you know that you're listening out for someone else to compliment you on your body.
Like minor things like wolf whistling or like an occasional comment, like girls probably don't look at as being too bad. I think that men probably think when they catcall that women will turn around and give them attention. I think there's probably a wrong perception that women enjoy it.
But I think it's more to do with like, it makes them feel good in front of their friends.
They don't know how to approach a woman in the correct way.
I feel like if you don't feed into like giving them attention, then they get a bit like aggravated by it.
Women are kind of shown in the media in a provocative way, so maybe that could give the perception to men that they're above women and they're allowed to talk to them how they like.
No, I do not feel safe. No.
A study by the Girl Guiding Charity found that 85% of 17 to 21-year-olds often or sometimes feel unsafe when they're out alone, and 67% change their behaviour to avoid this, for example, walking a different route. Street harassment seems to happen more often at night and commonly on a night out. Young people often have a negative opinion on catcalling because it often comes from drunk men when they feel vulnerable. At a time when social media and the news are constantly showing us reports about people being attacked or raped, it is easy to understand why people are nervous. Perhaps our modern society builds a picture of fear. Many men are aware of the effect catcalling has on women, and the issue is increasingly being spoken about in the media.
People think it's normal to sort of make sexually suggestive and often sexually aggressive comments. Obviously, Donald Trump in America is sort of his comments about grabbing women by the pussy was what he said, and that's horribly aggressive.
Joanna Lumley has spoken out stating that she believes wolf whistling is no more than a compliment. This is a common perception amongst an older generation of feminists who believe that young women complain too much. We spoke to a lady who agrees.
I think that, well, basically, I think wolf whistling and catcalling is all part of the great mating game. We are animals, and women strut their stuff and guys strut their stuff. When I was about 15 or so, I would get into a tight skirt with slit up the back and get me nylons with a seam up the back and put me stiletto heels on. And at that time, the celebrities were Sophia Loren and Gina Lollobrigida, who were Italians, and they had a way of walking. You know, they swung their hips when they walked. And so, you know, me and other girls used to walk down the street past the building sites, swinging your hips and all that. And if the guys whistled at you, it was wow, it's a result.
So catcalling is obviously something that you're aware of as being a problem, but I mean a lot of I've often encountered men sort of denying it exists. Like I've heard sort of women talking to sort of friends of mine talking to guys. They're like, oh, of course it doesn't happen. It's flattering. I'm sure it is. I'd love it if someone catcalled me. And it's a thing that men deny happens because it doesn't happen to them. They don't see it. Sort of men that don't do it don't believe it happens because they haven't witnessed it.
I don't think they are trying to dominate or harass, or that it's in any way a negative thing.
It is not a nice thing, and some men just think it's all right and think it's normal and think it's a way that other men speak. Men often are quite aggressive verbally, just as a bonding thing. Men are encouraged broadly, and have been for a long time, to express their opinions, to not think of anything they have to say as irrelevant.
And these are men who are threatened by society today. They're, so many of them on the scrap heap. They're the sort of male values that they were brought up in are no longer relevant. Going and down the coal mines or whatever, being very butch, is kind of not what's needed anymore. And they're also must be so threatened by the fact of women who have become so strong in the workplace, because it's the sort of things that naturally women have, the interpersonal skills, is much more useful, it's much more in demand than all that sort of, butch he-man stuff.
Not only can some comments or experiences be damaging to women emotionally, but sometimes these events can get out of hand or be life-threatening. One frightening situation that a young woman found herself in made headline news in September this year after a seemingly harmless comment escalated into something much more dangerous.
I'd taken annual leave from work. We had just had like a new arrival in our family, so I thought, it'd be a nice day to take off. I was on my way approaching the alley, then a motorbike came out and they just shouted, "You're right, darling," and then drove off. They didn't stop, they didn't slow down, they carried on. I carried on walking and paid no attention to it. The bike's come back on himself and blocked the path to the alleyway. And he said really abruptly, I said, "Are you all right, darling?" And I didn't answer because I was shocked and I didn't know what he wanted me to say. He then threatened to smash our faces in. And then I said, "You won't do that. Just stop, this is getting silly." And then he drove off and I thought that was the end of it. I'm facing the bike and then I realised I heard it, so I turned around to face the bike because I could hear it coming back. The bike's gone straight into me. And then I got stuck underneath the bike, so they revved it to try to get it over me, and because it didn't go over me, they dragged it, like they kicked off the concrete and pulled it back over me and then just drove off. Our first week I couldn't walk, and the second week I had a doctor's appointment, and my granddad lives at the end of the doctor's road in a flat, so you can see the doctors from his house. I was like, please just let me go by myself. So I went by myself, and then on my way back, a car pulled up next to me and they bibbed at me, and literally my whole body just froze. Now, when you're a girl, that happens a lot. You have cars drive past you or boys speak to you, and it was normal. And all of a sudden I realised how something that happened to me every day had this thing attached to it. My whole body froze. Someone said to me, "What, do you want all catcalls to be put in prison?" No, that's not what I want, but I want people to understand and have conversations that you don't know who you're shouting out. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know how their day's going. You're shouting at a stranger. No real man will harass a woman or run down the street after her or grab her or run her over because she doesn't want to speak to them. There's nothing wrong with approaching someone, asking how their day is, and ask them, "Do you mind if I talk to you? Or is it okay if I just have a There's nothing wrong with that. As I said, there is something wrong with shouting at someone down the street or shouting vulgar comments. You don't need to do that.
The argument that women should just ignore catcalling if they don't like it is clearly not always a sensible solution. So what can be done about this issue? Would a change in law to make street harassment a hate crime, like there have been trialling in Nottinghamshire, help prevent more serious problems happening and make women feel safer and more in control? It is essential that people understand the difference between a catcall meant as a compliment and how, in certain situations, catcalls can be extremely intimidating as well as demoralising.